Until yesterday, I was getting rude SMSs from Fatima in the middle of the night, complaining about why I didn't come. So this is really a peace offering, so they can be peace between my sister and I. But there's nothing that energizes me more than being in a room full of women. My sister made a very good point where she said, of course we have problems as first ladies, but don't think that our problems are different to yours. The only difference with our problems, they are on the front pages of the newspapers, on the social media, but it's the very same things that you deal with. Whether it's managing your children and the difficulty that they go through, whether it's managing your relationship with your husband and the difficulty that goes through, family members, work obligations, your own insecurities, people who don't like you and make up stories about you. Yeah. They do that to you. Yes. They just don't go put it on Facebook every morning. Sometimes they do. Feeling undermined, undervalued, feeling as if, am I the problem? Why is it always me? So we have the same issues as women. And one thing that I appreciate about Fatima is that she's not scared to say her say. But one thing I do, and it's a principle I live by, I stay away from insecure people. I stay away from people who lack confidence. Because people like that can never celebrate others. They can never see good in others. They can never appreciate others. And they always feel threatened by someone who disagrees or has their own view. So one thing that all of us as women have to do, particularly for our daughters, is to protect their self-confidence. Yes. To protect their self-esteem. Because when you have self-esteem, you don't allow people to tell you who you are. Yes. You know who you are. You don't allow people to undervalue you. You know what your value is. And that's why when you see women like Fatima who have so much potential, I cannot not see it. Because I see my value first, therefore I can recognize value in others. So I recognize that value in you, my sister, and I appreciate it. So she also relieved me from the position of being the youngest first lady. Now I am the youngest sister. She relieved me of the burden of being told I talk too much, she talks more than I do. But she also works harder than I do. She really does. She's an incredibly hard-working first lady. Yesterday I was in Addis Ababa. I'm the president of the Organization of African First Ladies. And before I tell you what happened in Addis Ababa, when I was elected the president of the Organization of African First Ladies, the first thing I did, I went home and I said to my husband, there's two presidents in this house now. He didn't think it was funny, so don't make jokes of presidents about being a president. So I was there, I was engaging stakeholders. We were trying to raise some funding for the Organization of African First Ladies, and that's how my sister and I met. And when I spoke about Hands of Our Girls campaign, and the exceptional leadership that is being displayed by my sister from Sierra Leone, there was a number of ambassadors from countries like the US, the UK, Australia, who knew about the Hands of Our Girl campaign. So I want to tell you today, it's not just a success here in Sierra Leone. It's not just a success on the continent. It's a success in the world. Because when the foundation is right, when the advocacy is sincere, and the experience is shared, you can only do great things. So thank you for setting an example. I know there's some ministers, there's deputy ministers, there's a woman from the private sector, civil society. I was a private sector creature before I became a political creature. And I still don't really accept that I'm political. But the minute someone says I'm not political, they're political. But I learned, I was a private sector leader, and we were very clear about what government didn't do, what government didn't know, what they're bad at, what they should improve at. But when you go into government, you realize how complex the issues are.
Yeah.
I see this must be on this. you realize that our colleagues from the private sector, we tend to see issues from a one-dimensional perspective. And when you're a repository of power, you're forced to look at it from different angles. Because it impacts so many different people. And that's why it's so important to have female representation at the table. In order for us to get the full spectrum of views as well. I look at the uniforms on my right. The environment you work in is not easy. Very hierarchical environment. People who grow up with set beliefs of what you should do, what you should be. So even if you share the same uniform, you don't share the same attitude. We know sometimes, and it's the same for women in uniform, it's the same for women in the private sector. The minute you get promoted, she must have slipped her way to the top. She must have done this, she must have done that. And nobody wants to recognize the work that you do. You are valued, you are appreciated. I see women in the white uniforms, and my mother was a nurse. Or she's still alive. She was a nurse when she practiced. And she used to work these 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock shifts. But one thing that she taught me was the value. She was a maternity nurse. And she had many, many children named after her. Because she operated in that environment where nurses loved their patients and patients loved the nurses. Because that's a calling. It's not a job. It's because you love it. Being a uniform personnel is a calling. It doesn't pay well. Every day you're being sworn at, you're being told how useless you are, and you go to service. So those of you in service, it's a thankless job. It's a thankless job. And we need people like you to be able to do it because you are changing lives. And I want to say that to the female politicians who are here today as well. You know, they talk about kitchen cabinets of presidents. And the only kitchen cabinet I know, and they say women's place is in the kitchen, but I've never seen them around kitchen cabinets. And as first ladies, we are not politicians. But Fatima, we have an obligation to bring the women in their cabinets closer to them. So that when they are talking strategy, when they are talking about what needs to happen next, it's not just our husbands and their 5 male friends, that there are also women in their kitchen cabinets. Because the role of First Lady plays can be a good one or it can be a destructive one. We are not politicians and we should never compete with politicians. Being politicians is elected, we are unelected. We have our own mandate, we have our own power. My son likes to tell me when I get too much in his business, mommy, stay in your lane. So I stay in my lane, I run very well in my lane, I'm very fast, I'm very agile, but in my lane. But I also have a responsibility to pull everybody with me, not to compete. So as First Ladies, we must have a no-compete agreement with all of you. Because you must do what you have to do, we must do what we have to do. And sometimes it's advocating for each other. So I wish you well, I wish you strength, I wish you thick skins. Because some of the insults are unbelievable. You know, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I always tell myself, please don't Google your name. Especially not on social media. But sometimes the devil is loud. So you Google. Then you read this thing and you wonder, are they talking about me? Who are they talking about? And that's one thing that you must learn. And it's for all of you. They're talking about your position. They're not talking about your person. The minute you start wondering, why do they think this about me? You are defeated, you are finished. Accept that some things come with your position. They don't know who you are. They don't know your person. So I've learned to depersonalize what people say. And realize those are things for the First Lady. They are swearing at the First Lady. They're not swearing at money. So depersonalize. I'd also like to thank my sister. We had a lovely conversation. It is political maturity. in your friendship with the First Lady. Politics can get toxic. It destroys relationships, in friendships, in families. And I think it's up to women for us to show you can disagree politically, but maintain a respectful relationship with each other. So thank you, the two of you, for the incredible example. I know that your colleague, your successor is here. They were bantering in the speedboat here, and it was really pleasant to see it. That's how it should be. It was a pleasure to play with you as well. She just kept on laughing and teasing her back. It served you, and you also looked for trouble. And then, of course, the Minister of Environment and Tourism, who did what tourism ministers do and sold Sierra Leone very well. Her and I have a deal. She will come to Namibia after a delegation of Namibians will be here in Sierra Leone. Come to Sierra Leone first. And I want to speak on behalf of those Namibians. I know quite a few of them. One is even our Prime Minister. And the age cohort is about, 54 years old to about 57. And all of them now speak very, very fondly of their time in Sierra Leone. The warmth, the love, the compassion, the hospitality, which I myself am experiencing. Another thing we share in common with Sierra Leone is, like yourselves, Namibia is also a post-conflict society. And in a way, we may have made a mistake when we drew up our national development goals, because we talked about infrastructure development, we talked about improving education, we talked about roads, bridges, schools, clinics, but we forgot about people, mental health, families. Because one thing about post-conflict societies, family and societal dysfunction, violence, anger, including sexual violence. Families that are split apart, and I don't know about Sierra Leone, but certainly in Namibia, fatherlessness, and the role that absent fathers play in destroying the lives of the young children. The boys are angry and resentful, and the girls look for love and fathers in the wrong places. And these are issues that we can deal with mutually. Our issues are similar. Our issues are similar. So I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for the invitation, my sister. And thank you. I'm thankful for your brothers here who are here to support you. And I look forward to tomorrow. I see the people from Hands Off Our Girls campaign are here. You really are the grassroots mobilizers. All of us rely on people like you. And I look forward to spending the day tomorrow, Fatima, with you and your team, to amplify the exceptional work and the exceptional leadership that you've displayed with